How much money have you spent on Pokemon Pocket?
I don't want to talk about it.
How much?
Between $30 and $50.
If you've opened a pack of Pokemon cards at almost any time in your life, you've definitely noticed these cards. Well, basically everyone knows what they are, a surprisingly little amount of people actually use them. And if you're anything like me, you opened up way too many Pokemon cards as a kid and have a stockpile of these somewhere in your closet. And have a lot of them. A lot of them. If you don't know, these code cards were used in Pokemon trading card game online, a video game that turned the Pokemon card game into a virtual video that was much easier to understand and play than the actual game itself. If you're anything like me, you tried to play the card game as a kid with your sibling or friends, and you were just completely flustered on how it works, despite even trying to follow the rules. But Pokemon did realize that and try to make it easier with this online game. While the quality of the game itself can be argued, it had a very strong player base and over 2 decades of support from the Pokemon Company. However, while the game was over the past few years, Pokemon Company very silently discontinued it in June of 2023 and replaced it with a very similar version that was developed more in mind with smartphones, as obviously they become much more popular in the means of gaming. Thankfully, collectors, this also meant that the code cards would shift to the new game as well, and people who played the original game could shift their collection to the new one as well. However, that decision may not be as friendly as you believe. The decision to make this game would actually be the start of Pokemon's turn into making even more money from Pokemon cards than they already do. In fact, this might even double their profits on Pokemon cards. The actual game part of Pokemon cards is one widely ignored by many collectors. However, Pokemon Company has been trying for decades to change that. I mean, you could argue that most people don't even collect the cards for the game. They just collect it to sell and flip on the secondhand market and see them as more as investments. Especially since 2020 with certain world events that I cannot say or else I will not make any money from this video, Pokemon cards themselves have shifted to a completely different level of this thinking. To display this, we have to look to a somewhat unlikely source of comparison, which is baseball cards. I myself have been collecting both Pokemon and baseball cards for years at a point and have way too many. But I have noticed that the two worlds have become ever more so slightly connected in ways that you wouldn't really expect from the two. As you most likely heard about old baseball cards going for thousands of dollars, the main drive for many baseball card collectors has been to act as an investment of sorts. This led to many creating breaks for baseball cards and other sports cards, where people can buy cards for a specific team and a type of product at a cheaper price. This is sort of its own business within the sport card industry, and now we are seeing it across Pokemon as well. Popular YouTubers such as Mystic7 have opened their own breaking channels where they've reported almost millions of dollars in profits just from reselling and selling Pokemon cards at a discounted price due to the connections they had, which is absolutely insane to think about. Yet, why is this all important? Why am I talking about this in a Pokemon Pocket video? Well, Pokemon cards have experienced a similar boost in sales and interest since 2020 like baseball cards have. While they've always been sold in exchange for higher prices, as that's just how products of luck like trading cards work, and I'm not trying to say that this market didn't exist before 2020, the shift in hype absolutely blew up after 2020. Cards were flying off the shelves like nothing you've seen before, and if you tried to go to a Target or a Walmart to buy some cards in 2020 or 2021, it was most likely you couldn't find any at all. It even led to Target putting a limit on the amount of cards you could purchase, and I believe that is still in effect in some areas today. This boom shifted the audience of Pokemon cards to not only just children and some nerd adults, but to almost anybody who could get their hands on them. This leads to Pokemon cards being very similar to sports cards, where people do breaks for Pokemon boxes and they become much more of a commodity and an investment. I mention this because Pokemon cards have found a completely new life, and Pokemon Company is going to be taking full advantage of it. While things go and come all the time, with Pokemon TCG Online being cancelled, it was claimed they were mainly doing so to update the software as a whole and prioritize the game in the future. While this most likely holds some truth, as it was a 20-year-old game and programmed for Windows Vista, it's most likely this change was primarily for money, and we can kind of see that with their future plans. While making monetary changes to a game mid-life cycle is very dangerous and proves the death of many games such as Overwatch or many other multiplayer online games, canceling the game and rechanging and how packs and prices work in a completely new one would be the main viable option for Pokemon at this time. But what is even the difference between the two games? Well, many people who've played both versions of the game have spoken out about the differences of the two versions, and one complaint seems to keep arising: the lack of collecting. You could open less packs, you can't look at the cards in a gallery-like format, you get less cards per pack. It's kind of like the Pokemon Company removed the collecting aspect from the game and we're thinking of developing a whole entirely new app just for that. Wait a second. Pokemon Pocket TCG was absolutely designed to maximize on the profits of this uptick in popularity. However, to do that, they would have to completely isolate both it and the physical Pokemon cards as much as possible. This answers the commonly asked questions of why the cards in the game are different from the ones in the set in real life. Having a mishmash of cards from the past 25 years rather than just the newest set or a pre-existing set. It also answers why I brought up code cards in the beginning of the video. Pokemon Company does not want you to use these code cards because they want you to buy the cards in the digital world. Digital trading cards have been around for a while and are pretty prevalent for being seen as lesser by many communities that have them. However, for companies, they're a great thing. They cost almost nothing to produce, they already have the art made at times because Pokemon cards have been around for decades, and most of the time is simple programming. So without code cards being able to be used in this new app, people either have to pay for the cards or wait for them manually 2 packs a day. And this business idea is already working beautifully for the Pokemon Company. In the first week alone of the game, with almost 11 million users, Pokemon TCG Pocket made $24 million in total, which is probably more than it even cost to develop the game in the first place. And that's in the first week alone, and it's been out for, if not a month at this point. If they allowed connectivity between the real TCG using code cards to unlock cards in the game, a lot of that profit would be completely gone. However, it might not be as much as you think or how much I'm making it out to be. Just like it did Pokemon Go did in 2016, Pokemon Pocket is reintroducing a lot of people back into the world of Pokemon. I see people all around my school playing it that I've never seen talk about Pokemon before, and it's truly just like Pokemon Go did, and it's bringing so many people different or astray from the franchise back to it. It's the absolute lowest point of the entry for anyone new or who hasn't touched a Pokemon game in decades, which is why there's mainly Gen 1 Pokemon only in Pocket right now. Pikachu, Charizard, and Mewtwo, they're all Pokemon that everybody knows basically. They're finding joy and whimsical fun in opening packs again. People are going to be tempted to buy the physical packs once again just like they did all those years ago. Pokemon TCG Pocket is a thrilling, fun game that lets you relive the joys of card collecting just like you did when you were younger. While I haven't spent any actual money on it yet, I definitely do see why people spend money. Seeing your friend or just a random person pull a card that you really want or think is really cool makes you really jealous. It makes you really want that card, and it's clear that Pokemon wants you to do this as they have showcase and binder options that allow you to share your cards with other people. Yet with all this, it's hard to see this game as anything more than just a gacha game, as that's what it is. It's just as money hungry as games like Genshin Impact or any other collectible mobile game that is harshly criticized by many gamers as being just a money grab, which it basically is. It creates false scarcities or malpractices to entice you to spend real life money for virtual objects, which is a very manipulative and somewhat negative business practice. The gacha element is only made worse when Pokemon Company is actively denying a connectivity between the real world and digital cards, yet that's done on purpose, and it's almost unlikely, almost impossible, that there will ever be a connection between real life cards and Pokemon TCG Pocket, due to just the sheer profitability of having both exist at the same time. This is just my opinion, but I hope you guys enjoyed the video and found it at least a little bit eye-opening, and I recommend you make sure you have enough money before you buy any Pokemon cards in real life or in Pokemon TCG Pocket. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want high quality videos again like this, make sure you like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.